Are we ready to proceed on the Blaisdell matter?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Banas, for your information and for purposes of making an informed decision today, I don't know if you have received a copy of the bond violation report.
I do have a copy of that report, and I've reviewed it with my client, Your Honor.
Thank you. And I presume that you've received it as well, Ms. Williams.
Yes, Your Honor, I have.
All right, thank you. All right. Are there any opening arguments?
Your Honor, for the record, there was an offer in this matter to plead to an AV under prosecutor's deferred with an agreement to do an alcohol assessment and to follow those suggestions. Following that assessment, it is my understanding that Ms. Blaisdell would like to proceed to trial on this matter. And if that is the case, the people will waive opening on this matter.
That's correct, Your Honor. Ms. Blaisdell asserts her innocence in this case and absolutely wants to proceed to trial, but I do always appreciate an offer, and I will also waive opening.
Thank you, Ms. Blaisdell. As you just heard, the prosecutor has indicated that if you were to admit, or I'm sorry, if you were to plead guilty to the assault and battery, they would place you on their deferred program. If you completed the terms of probation, this would not be on your record. Do you understand that, ma'am?
I do understand that, and I did decline.
You are rejecting that offer, is that correct?
Correct.
Right, thank you. All right, you may, and both of you have waived opening arguments. With that being said, you may present your first witness. Ms. Williams.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people call Mr. Cornelius Smith.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Smith, please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You may proceed, Ms. Willenbrink.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Smith. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Cornelius Smith, C-O-N-E-L-I-O-U-S, Cornelius, last name Smith, S-M-I-T-H.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Are you familiar with Ms. Tiffany Blaisdell?
Yes.
How do you know her?
Well, she's someone I just, rent a room from, for month to month. So
okay.
She was my landlord. Roommate / roommate landlord.
So she lived with you, correct?
Yeah, I lived with her. But I had just removed myself. So.
And do you see
end of what you just said, sir? You just did what?
I just removed myself from the address.
Okay.
Do you see her present here in the virtual courtroom today?
Not for sure. I haven't looked at on the camera yet.
Okay. Do you have a way that you can look at the participants and scroll through them?
Yes.
And if you can identify her by what she's wearing?
I see her sitting in a chair.
Okay. And what is she wearing?
She's wearing a shirt with different detail on it. Well, I don't know exactly what it is because it's kind of dark in the dark room. She got her hair laid down. So.
Okay, Your Honor.
It's kind of hard to identify the t-shirt. The sleeve. I know she's wearing a long sleeve shirt.
We'll stipulate to the identification, Ms. Willenbrink, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Banner. Mr. Smith, do you recall where you were on May 22nd of this year, 2021?
Yes, I was. I just left. I just pulled up, came in the house, and then when I came up, because we came from shopping, then I went to lay down for a second, because I was very tired, ripping and running around. So when I got up,
Mr. Smith, where where is the house that you were living at? What's the address?
The address, I don't know.
Okay, is that in Ypsilanti Township?
Ypsilanti, Michigan, yes.
Okay, is that in Washtenaw County?
Yes, ma'am, Washtenaw County.
Okay, and that's the location where you lived with Ms. Blaisdell, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did anyone else live there?
Yes, Tiffany Moore, for just, you know, just for a split second.
Who is Tiffany Moore?
This is my girlfriend.
Okay, and you said you arrived home and you took a nap. What happened after you took a nap?
Well, I woke up and came in the living room and I seen Tiffany on the couch, very heavy, intoxicated, you know,
Mr. Smith,
upset about.
Since there are two Tiffanys involved, will you clarify which Tiffany you saw on the couch?
Yes,
and Your Honor, just, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm going to object to, based on speculation or in addition to medical conclusion of her state of mind. I mean, if he has some personal knowledge of any consumption of alcohol, certainly Ms. Willingbrink could address that. So I'm objecting to his statement about her level of intoxication.
Ms. Willingbrink.
Your Honor, I believe he can testify to what he observed about her behavior. I think we all have an idea of what someone who is intoxicated might act like, so he can testify to his personal knowledge of her behaviors and how she was acting.
Thank you. Based on your response, I will allow you to ask him questions to build a foundation for him making the statement that she was very heavily intoxicated.
Okay. So, Mr. Smith, you observed Ms. Blaisdell in the living room?
Yes, when I arrived in the living room, Miss Tiffany Blaisdell was sitting on the love seat couch near where a half a pint of vodka, apple Amsterdam apple vodka, and she was loud and you know saying being obnoxious, and she was upset about the neighbors across the street kicking her out because she was disturbing a kid's birthday party. And so she took it out on me and my girlfriend. So I was going in the kitchen trying to walk away and ignore her. So when I went in the kitchen, she kept it up. Go ahead.
Mr. Smith, yes, I'm just going to slow you down a bit. I'm going to ask you one question at a time. So you observed her drinking alcohol, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And what do you mean when you say she was loud and obnoxious? What was she acting like?
Well, she was very upset because the neighbors kicked her out, you know, out the house across the street.
Objection, hearsay. I don't think it sounds like he wasn't there, so.
Ms. Willingbrink?
I will rephrase the question. Mr. Smith, what was Ms. Blaisdell saying to you?
She basically said she was upset that how could they kick me out and I wasn't doing nothing, you know what I'm saying? I was trying, you know what I'm saying, say hello and stuff like that. And then she turned around, looked at me and said, you going to pay your rent and you're going to pay me an extra $400 and all this stuff. So she was taking it out on me, whatever happened, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, that's what's coming out of her mouth. So it came out of her mouth. So I can't, you know what I'm saying, control what, you know what I'm saying, how she was acting. All I can do is, you know, try to, you know, walk away from the situation. So I couldn't understand everything what you were talking about. Only thing I heard, she was telling me, I'm going to pay her rent and I owe her or I'm going to get out, I'm a bum or stuff like that. And I'm like, she going off on me. So I don't know. I just know she was just going straight. She was talking and intoxicated because I know she was intoxicated because my mama drank. So I know when a person's intoxicated. I see the bottle right in front of me. That's the reason why I called the 911. I got hit in the back when I was talking to the dispatch.
Mr. Smith. Okay,
yes,
so what happened after you had that conversation in the living room? What did you do next?
I told her, I said, I paid you already, and you trying to collect another extra 400. What extra 400? And she looked at me, and that's when it really went left field. She was like, "Oh, what extra 400? Oh, okay, I bet you. I bet you you want to get in here tonight because she was on trying to change the locks. So she was being Knievel, evil, like she was being evil. So I don't know how to explain it. It's just like she was being very, very vindictive. So I could not,
Okay.
you know,
So, Mr.
stop
Smith,
her, you know, acting out like that.
where was she sitting on the couch? Where was Ms. Blaisdell?
She was sitting on the couch first, but when I told her, I said I paid her already, and I said you owe me one more month before I give you another 400. So she got up out of her chair and started hollering in my face. I walked away, and then I said, she was like, okay, we'll bet you this. And I said, you know what? I said, keep this up. I mean, I had to call the police to get involved. And she was like, you know, call the police. I call the police on you and telling you assaulted me. I was like, come on, Tiffany, don't do that. And she was like, well, I will. You know what I'm saying? And she was basically telling me she'll set me up. So I'm looking at her like, chill out. And she got in my face and so she's spitting while she's talking because she intoxicated. That's the only reason why I know, because I can smell the earth of the liquor off her breath. Okay. So I had to call 911, and when I was dialing 911, and she steady again hollering, and then when she heard the officer pick up and said something to me, she hit me, and then I was like, well, she just hit me while I'm talking to you. They got me on the recording when I was saying that.
Mr. Smith, so where were you when you were calling 911?
In the kitchen, because I walked out the living room into the kitchen.
So were you walking away from Ms. Blaisdell?
Yes, ma'am. I was walking away. That's what I was calling. And then when she hit me, I walked fast out the back door and stayed in the backyard till the police came. Okay. And stayed on the phone.
Where did you feel that hit?
Right on my left side, upper shoulder, upper left back.
Okay. So you were facing away from her when she hit you?
Yes, I was facing away towards in the kitchen towards the hallway. It's like it's another hallway, like going towards the back entrance in the backyard. So I was on the phone, I had the phone in my right hand, talking to the dispatch officer while she hit me at the same time when the officer was talking to her.
Okay. What did that hit feel like? Was it hard? Was it?
I thought she hit me with a glass jar, like a coffee mug or something. The way she hit me, I didn't know why she would hit me, because I didn't know, because she had got into some type of ramps before, and I had, walked away and walked out the house and left and let her calm down, but she wouldn't let me leave at that time. So I knew I had to do something, let the police get involved. So that's the reason why. And I never really called the police. I really never called police on people. But I had no choice at this moment, because I cannot afford, get solving something that I cannot fix. The police got to take care of it. I can't do nothing about it.
Okay. So after you felt that hit, what did you do next?
I walked out the house real fast. I paced myself out the house real fast and stayed on the phone until the police arrived. And the police stayed on the phone with me and telling me what she's doing and where she was at. And I said, yes, she's still in the house. She haven't came out. And so the police arrived, and then I jumped over the gate and went and talked to the officer, and left my back up. And the police went in there and talked to Tiffany and talked to Blaisdell. And then they came out and then they arrested her, because, 9 out of 10, ain't no another woman don't lie to another woman. They both the same name. And when it comes to women, it's women power. And I'm just being honest.
Mr. Smith. Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have for you. Now Mr. Banis might have some questions for you.
No problem.
All right, your witness, Mr. Banis.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Smith. I'm Andrew Banis. I'm Ms. Blaisdell's lawyer, so I'm going to ask you some questions. Okay, so I listened closely to your testimony. So, and you said that you rented a room from Ms. Blaisdell, and that you live with her. So, was that? Can you describe the apartment for us? Did you have your own separate room?
Yes, we did have our own separate rooms, 3 bedrooms.
And then now the other Tiffany Moore, your girlfriend, did you and Tiffany Moore live in one room together?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you got you and Tiffany Moore in one room, and then Ms. Blaisdell in another room. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, but she don't sleep in her room. She sleeps in the living room.
Okay. I appreciate you trying to answer. I'm going to ask you some very specific questions. Ms. Willingburn can always follow up with some additional questions. Okay, so we're talking about May 22nd, 2021. Is that how long had you lived there at that point? Approximately.
At that time, probably almost 2 months, going on almost 2 months, 5 months, and some going on 2 months.
And this was in actuality a temporary living situation, right? Ms. Blaisdell was helping you, and correct? Okay. And then you were supposed to be out of the apartment by June 1st of this year. Is that correct?
No, July 15th.
Okay. Well, you actually left the apartment on July 15th, right?
Yeah, I've been left.
On July 15th?
Correct.
And you...
July 15th, no. I left a long time ago, June 15th.
Okay, June 15th. Thank you. And you said before you removed yourself from that address, quote, remove myself, quote, on address. Actually, you were actually required to move out, right?
No, July 15th, but I didn't remove myself early from the date that we had agreed upon.
Right. So you're saying you and Ms. Blaisdell agreed that you would move out on June 15th, 2021?
No, I said July 15th, not June 15th. I left in June. In June, and we supposed to leave in July 15th. I left in June.
Got it.
An agreement was July 15th.
Okay, thank you. I promise you I wasn't trying to trip you up on the dates. I just want to make sure I got it here. So, okay. And then you said that Tiffany Moore lived there for, I think you said a split second. Did you mean by that she lived there only a short period of time? Or was she there the whole time you lived there?
A split second, because she wasn't there the whole time.
Did Tiffany Moore live with you at this address at 6 Wharton the whole time you lived there?
No, sir.
Now, so on May 22nd, there was an argument between you and Ms. Blaisdell?
It was a communication dispute about the rent.
Okay. And so you said that she brought up that you'd owed her some additional money. Are you saying that you had already paid her everything that was due?
Yes. So I gave her additional money ahead of time, and she go spend her money and then come back and turn around and say I haven't gave her nothing, which is insane. So I even took her. Yeah, I even took her out, bought toilet tissue, bought soap, stuff like that, and then she look at me and say, "What did I do?" And I say, "All right, I guess I ain't do nothing for you then, if that's what you say."
Okay, so the argument was that night was it was more about just money though, right? It was more about the total living situation.
No, it was about she was upset about the neighbor kicking her out the party, the kids' party across the street. So she took it out on me and tipped me. So that's what happened.
Okay. Well, tell me if you disagree with this. Actually, there was kind of an ongoing problem with this living arrangement, right? And that was all part of this discussion or dispute or argument on May 22nd. For example, you and Tiffany Moore argued a lot and fought a lot, correct?
No.
You never had an argument or physical or verbal with Tiffany Moore while you two were living there?
Any couples have a disagreement.
Okay.
I don't know not one human being on this earth don't even argue with their sister, brother, auntie, or they even friend. So anybody gonna have some type of dispute about something.
And actually, neighbors were complaining about this, about you and Ms. Moore, weren't they?
I'm not notified about nothing, any of them type of activity.
You're not aware of any neighbor complaining about you and Tiffany Moore?
No, sir.
Okay. And in fact, you and Tiffany Moore were drinking quite a bit and smoking large quantities of marijuana in Ms. Blaisdell's apartment, right?
Can I ask you one question?
No, you cannot, sir. You cannot, sir. I'm asking you about that
don't have nothing to do with the case. It's just going off the case. That I got hit. When I get hit, I got hit. Ain't got nothing to do with about my criminal background, about if I'm black or white. If I get hit, it's right. Is she wrong? She hit me. That's just it. Ain't about is you trying to find what is this on guilty or not. If you don't want to make her guilty or not, is it okay she can hit me? It's okay. Y'all want her to hit me? It's okay. Is this okay? She can get drunk, intoxicated, and hit people. She need more help. I'm not a criminal. I'm the victim. I'm not going to sit up here and let people just victimize me and try to criminalize me over something that's not right. That don't got nothing to do with the case.
Mr. Smith.
It doesn't.
Mr. Smith.
Yes, right. Your Honor.
So, Mr. Smith, you're on the witness stand. The defense at this point has an opportunity to ask you questions, and you have to answer those questions, okay? And then I decide what happened and what didn't happen. That's where we are with this, okay? So just answer his questions, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
So on May 22nd, 21st, 2021, excuse me, you testified Ms. Blaisdell hit you. And before that, there was this argument or dispute. That's what I was trying to get at. And in fact, during that discussion, dispute, or argument, you were actually screaming at her and up in her face, were you not?
No.
Would you say, Mr. Smith, you have a bad temper?
No.
Okay. And the dispute or discussion or argument on May 22nd, it was, it actually also included problems that were leading up to that, like you and Ms. Tiffany Moore smoking large quantities of marijuana, drinking lots of alcohol, complaints from the neighbors, and arguments. Is that not true?
That's not true.
There's an objection on the floor.
I believe this has already been asked and answered.
Well, I tried to ask him about well, I'll move on, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I'm going to be calling Ms. Blaisdell as a witness anyway. Okay, so.
I have a medical license for marijuana, so.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Smith. Just give me 1 second, Mr. Smith. I'm trying to see if I have any more questions for you. I apologize for interrupting you there.
No problem.
So you no longer live at the Warden Street address, right?
No, sir.
And when you left the apartment, did you take any of Ms. Blaisdell's property?
No, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, I have no further questions for Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Anything follow up, Ms. Willenbrain?
I have no additional questions for Mr. Smith.
Thank you. May this witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Smith, thank you for testifying today. You are excused from the witness stand. You can choose to stay on the line if you want to. That is completely up to you. You are the complaining witness in this case, and you have a right to remain in the courtroom, sir. Okay?
All right.
All right, thank you, sir. Any further witnesses, Ms. Willenbrain?
No, Your Honor, the people were.
All right, thank you. Mr. Banish, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm calling Tiffany Blaisdell as a witness in her defense, and she's aware, Your Honor, she has a constitutional right not to testify in her defense, and that she's presumed innocent. She's waiving that right, and she can, Ms. Blaisdell, can you confirm that you understand you're not required to testify?
I do understand, and I'm willing to testify.
All right, so you're choosing to waive that right and testify today, Ms. Blaisdell. All right, thank you. Please raise your right hand to be sworn, Ms. Blaisdell. Do you swear if I'm tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So help me God, yes, I do.
Thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Banish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Blaisdell.
Good afternoon.
So, okay, so let's start with the living arrangement with Mr. Smith and Ms. Moore. Why don't you describe that? And I don't mean who slept where, we can get into that. I mean, how long were they supposed to stay there?
They were supposed to be there until June 1st. No July 18th, no July 15th, June 1st was the date they agreed upon because they didn't have any further monies to pay any additional rent. And they still had not fulfilled May's rent. And that's why that was brought up in a discussion on May 22nd.
Okay, and Ms. Blaisdell and everyone else, the sound is not great on my computer today for some reason, so I'm leaning in a lot, and it's only so I can.
I actually think that it's her. I think I could hear Mr. Smith very well. I need Ms. Blaisdell to speak up or sit forward or both.
Okay, I'll bring it closer to me. Is this better?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm sorry.
Okay. So tell us what, now on May 22nd, 2021, you have any kind of discussion with Mr. Smith?
There was discussion of rent. The man has a temper, regardless. And I mean, of course, you know, I've witnessed it. The discussion was they have to be gone by June 1st. I'd fed up with all the shenanigans, the fighting, you know, the police being called to my home, and they had to go. And of course, he was arguing right back in my face. I felt intimidated, threatened, and I pushed him, which I've admitted to doing.
Okay, so, okay, thank you. So let's back up and I'll break that down a bit. So you said shenanigans. What do you mean by that?
Pot smoking, the arguing. The
now, when you say arguing, I'm sorry, are you talking about between who and who?
Tiffany Moore and Cornelius Smith.
Okay. Now, did they have their own room together or were they separate?
They were together in one room.
Okay. And were there any complaints about that? About the shenanigans?
Oh, yes. I had complaints from the neighbors because the windows are always open in that bedroom that they were in, fighting constantly. And I was asked to tell them to close the windows. But again, they just continued, as if I was invisible and that my neighbors meant nothing. And I warned them that they would call the police, in which in fact they did.
I'm sorry, you warned them what?
I warned them to keep the windows closed, and they kept them open and continued arguing. And one time the police did come, not once, but twice.
All right. So how many times have you called the police about them?
I had to call them the second time for the police to come because they were both screaming and yelling at me, threatening me. And so when the police came in the second time, one of the deputies that I discussed with you was here, almost shot Mr. Smith because he rushed towards the deputy.
Are you talking about May 22nd or an earlier date?
No, that was, no, not May 22nd, an earlier date. But this is just an example of the things that I have to deal with.
Okay.
The living arrangements.
So, one second. So on May 22nd, really was this dispute or argument with Mr. Smith about more than just the money that he owed you?
Not necessarily. It's just the fact that I need to make it clear that they needed to be out and that I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired of the living arrangement. And that I could do only as much as I could for favors, you know, while they waited on their Section 8. And I couldn't handle it anymore because I didn't want to be evicted because of my neighbors complaining or the police coming and the township getting involved, which clearly they have.
And I mean, did you drink any alcohol that day?
I did have some alcohol, correct? Yep.
Okay.
He was accurate with the apple drink.
Okay. And now you said Mr. Smith has a temper. Is that from personal experience?
Yes, absolutely. I can give you one example where he's screaming in my face. My dog jumps on him, just like in a playful manner. He smacks her so hard on the top of her head that she yelps and takes off. And he acted like it was nothing. And he's been in my face screaming numerous times before. He's an emotional man. You know, when he doesn't get his way, then, you know, he takes things out when him and Tiffany Moore are fighting. I'm not somebody's punching bag. And I'm definitely not a relationship counselor.
Now, did you say before that you pushed him?
I did. I got him out of my face.
And I'll ask you questions about that. And so are you talking about May 22nd, the alleged incident date? Okay. Correct. So tell the judge, tell us what happened that day that led to this push. And then I'll ask you more about some other.
It was back and forth with the screaming, him in my face. He's a very intimidating man. I'm intimidated by him. I've witnessed before, for the record, that he was actually had Tiffany Moore in a chokehold. And I almost came after him actually with a mag light to break her away from him. And he challenged me. She said, please don't. And so I knew, you know, if he would put his hands on the woman that he loves, he was going to put his hands on me. So I shoved him away.
Okay, hold on. This mag light incident, you're saying that was May 22nd or earlier?
No, that was a time before, but that's
okay.
What led me because I feared because of how he was and what I've seen in the past, why I reacted the way I did on the 22nd of May.
Okay, got it. So now back to May 22nd. So did you say how was he? So at one point, were the two of you in the kitchen?
The house is open. So the kitchen and the living room are just an open, big space. So
okay.
It's not like you can go from one room to another. It's all open.
Well, let's do it this way. Think about the moment you pushed him, okay? And then go back, say 5 minutes. And if we need to go back further, I'll ask you about that. Tell us about those 5 minutes before you pushed him.
It was about the money. And I brought it up. I mean, it'd been eating at me, it bugged me, and perhaps, alcohol made me trigger a little more anger, but maybe not. But I just, you know, with these two going back and forth, I'd had enough, you know, and I wanted the rest of my money for May, which they did not pay. Actually, I was lending them money in May to help them with things. And it just is screaming back and forth. You can't understand half the time when he's so angry, what he's saying, the spitting.
Okay, so he's saying things to you during those 5 minutes?
Yep.
And what level of voice? Whispering to shouting, screaming? What's his attitude?
Bitch,
I'm sorry?
this, bitch that. No, screaming in my face. Bitch this, bitch that. I don't know you shit. I mean, those are just his words. Okay, and I apologize for swearing.
Is he facing you at that time or away from you?
Yes, sir. Yes, facing me, face to face.
Okay. How close?
Very
well?
close.
First of all, so since I'm going to ask you about how close he was, how tall are you?
I am 5'1".
Okay. And how? I mean, he's lived at your place. So what would you say his height is?
Maybe 5'10", 5'11".
Do you know how much he weighs?
I don't know. He's a lot of muscle. That's all I know.
Well, why do you say he's a lot of muscle?
Because he had done time in prison, and that's where he built.
Well, okay, I'm not asking about any of that. I'm just asking you what personal knowledge you have about why you say he's a lot of muscle. So anything have you seen him with his shirt off?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So is he muscular?
Very muscular.
Okay. Okay. So now, so back to this, you said he was screaming in your face. How close to you was he when he was doing that?
To the point where spit was actually hitting my face. I'm screaming. And this is not the first time that he's reacted like this in my face and gotten that close.
Okay, so on this particular date and time, well, you say so close that the spit is coming out of his mouth or saliva into your face. So are you saying like a couple inches or what?
I'd say about maybe 10 inches.
Okay. So how did you feel when all those things were happening during those moments before you pushed him?
Very threatened and scared.
And is that because of things that happened that day and the past, or what?
Because of things that I've seen in the past, what he's capable of and what he's done.
So you said, what other emotions were you feeling, if any?
Just scared, terrified. I'm shaking, like inside, trembling. I mean, all I can do is just react to protect myself.
Okay.
Because I've seen he's damaged property in the house because of these temper tantrums.
What property is he damaged in your house?
He knocked off the thermostat and the wall. He's thrown cherry juice all over the walls. When he's threw a container, he's thrown a set of keys. And this is all fights just in temper tantrums, anger, pure anger. And they had to replace the thermostat, which is true, and they did. But still, it shouldn't have to come to that.
Okay. And so while you're feeling all these emotions, did you put your hands on Mr. Smith in any way?
Just to push him away from me.
Okay. That is. Did he fall down?
No. You can't knock that brick wall down.
Okay. So you push him away for what reason again?
He was in my face. He was in my face spitting.
My sound really is not too good.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to speak a little louder for you.
It's not just you. Go ahead.
Because he was in my face and he was yelling and screaming.
Okay.
So that's in my personal space. I'm going to push you away.
And then did he, around those same moments or minutes, did he put his hands on you or not? I don't think there's any.
No, he did not. No, he did not.
Yeah, I don't think there's any dispute about that. So
No.
And then you heard his testimony today?
I did.
He said he then left the apartment. Is that basically how it ended?
He stormed through the back, but that's when he grabbed the phone to call 911. That's all he was doing. He was secretly calling 911 out in the back. I couldn't hear what was being said. I don't know what was addressed because it was on the side of the van when the police showed up. So I had no say what he was saying, what was being fabricated. But yes, he went out the back and called 911.
Okay. And at some point after that, the police arrived?
That's correct.
And one of the deputies spoke with you?
That is correct.
All right. And you were honest when you spoke with the deputies?
100%.
And did you tell the deputies that, one second here. Did you tell the deputy when they asked you that? No, I'm sorry. They were there that same day or night, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
The same day.
And did you tell them that there was an argument about the living arrangements?
Correct.
And did you tell them that he had been in your face, so you pushed him away?
Correct.
So you were honest then.
Mm-hmm.
And did you ever hit him in the back while he was walking away from you?
Why would I hit him in the back when he's in my face? No, that would make no sense.
So is that it? No.
Away from me. I'm not going to hit you in the back, and I'm
But
not
I'm
taking
just.
No, I did not. Absolutely
Okay.
not.
I just want to make sure you have an opportunity to answer that question. Okay. Okay. Now, so I'm sorry. So what time? So do you know what day they? First of all, is this a home or an apartment?
This is a home.
Okay. Now,
this is my parents' home, which I sold to a friend.
Your parents' home,
mm-hmm.
You sold to a friend. Mm-hmm. So you have a landlord?
Correct. Yeah, I rent it from him.
Got it. So is there a lease?
Yes, there is. We are month to month right now.
And who are the tenants under that lease agreement?
Myself.
Anyone else?
No.
Okay. So do you know what time, or I'm sorry, not what time, what day Mr. Smith and Ms. Moore vacated the home?
I'm going to assume because
well, don't assume. I'm just asking if you know.
Okay. Well, the landlord told me he gave them until the 15th of June.
Objections with hearsay.
Okay. No response, Your Honor. I will rephrase. Okay, hold on.
Blaisdell, please stop testifying until we address the objection that's on the record.
Okay.
I have no response, Your Honor. I'll make pointed questions going forward.
Thank you.
Okay, so now during this case, on what day? First of all, are you back living at your home?
I finally got back into my home on July 1st.
July 1st. Okay.
Yes.
And what was the condition of your residence when you got back there?
I had to have an attorney get me back in my home because the landlord.
Objection. Relevance.
Mr. Banis.
I'll rephrase the question, Your Honor. Was anything missing from your home?
Absolutely.
What was missing?
Objection. Still wondering why this is relevant to the May 22nd incident.
Banis.
I'll move on, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay. I have no other questions for Ms. Blaisdell at this time, but there may be some redirect.
Thank you. Ms. Willenberg.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Blaisdell.
Hello.
You mentioned an altercation with Mr. Smith and your dog. Did you call the police at that time?
No, I didn't because they tried to, get away
from
me.
Just yes or no, Ms. Blaisdell?
No, I did not.
And you mentioned a time when allegedly Mr. Smith and his girlfriend were arguing and it got physical. Did you call the police then?
I did one time, yes.
One time you did. And on the May 22nd date, you said that you had been drinking, right?
That is correct.
And you had been drinking quite a bit. Is that correct?
That is not correct. I never agreed to that. No.
Okay. Were you?
There was only a half a bottle gone.
Were you able to speak clearly at that time?
I'm pretty certain I was. Yes.
You're pretty certain, or you know?
It was only a half a pint. I mean, it wasn't like it was like 5 bottles later. No. It was a half a pint.
A half a pint of what, Ms. Blaisdell?
It was like an apple vodka.
Okay. And you said that you were argumentative with Mr. Smith. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you put your hands on him, right?
I pushed him away from me.
Okay. And you didn't have permission to push him, right?
He didn't have permission to be in my face.
But you did not have permission to push him, right?
Was I supposed to ask to get somebody out of my face when I feel threatened?
So you stated that after you pushed him, he left the residence. Is that correct?
He went in the back and started to call 911.
That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
I have some questions. Ms. Blaisdell.
Yes, ma'am.
So you said that you started having the discussion with him regarding the fact that they needed to be out of the home, correct?
Correct. There had been an ongoing discussion prior to even the 22nd of May.
All right. At what point did the conversation become heated?
It has become heated multiple times in the past as well.
Not talking about the past, Ms. Blaisdell. I'm asking you simply about today's date, and please don't speak over me.
Okay, I'm sorry. Probably within the first few sentences.
All right. What did he say that was the first heated thing, Ms. Blaisdell?
Calling me out of my name.
And what did he say? Total
sentence. I'm not getting you anymore. This, you got what you're getting. And, it was just in anger, just spewing constantly. Yeah, calling me names. And he flew right off the handle, Your Honor.
So at any point in time, did you discuss with him the neighbors being upset about the fact that you were removed from the party?
They have been aware of that multiple times. I have verbally told them.
I don't think you heard my question because you didn't answer that.
Can you
my
please repeat the question?
Was, at any point in time, did you explain to him that you had been kicked out of a children's birthday party at the neighbor's house on that date?
I did not.
Okay.
It was not a children's birthday party.
Okay. Was there a party next door?
There was a party across the street, correct.
Okay. And were you kicked out of that event, ma'am?
I was not kicked out. I was just asked if to only be family members. So I said, okay. And I came back laughing about it in the house. There was no anger.
Okay. Now you said that the conversation immediately went to anger from him. Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct.
And what happened next after he called you the bitch and said he wasn't giving you any more money? What was the next?
Then I was calling a bum. You got to go. I want you guys out, and that's when the screaming match just continued, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, I can't remember everything. I was quite upset. I mean, I can't give you detail, but I can confirm, where it was going to lead to and what it has led to today.
All right. Thank you. No further questions.
Your Honor, I have just some follow-up direct after Ms. Willenbring's questions, if I may do that now.
Yes, sorry, I apologize. Jumped ahead.
I need to move to get on the
no. All right, that's fine. No problem. Okay, so Ms. Blaisdell, Ms. Willenbring asked you if you had drinking, and you said you had. And then I asked you a bunch of questions about what happened. The judge asked you some questions. How clear is your memory about that day?
That's relatively clear.
Okay. Now, Ms. Willenbring was asking you about police reports, how many times you called the police. So when you got back to your apartment after they had vacated, did you call the police then?
Yes, I did.
And why'd you do that?
Because they had stolen my property.
What property are you missing?
I am missing a 43-inch flat screen TV, a mini refrigerator I allowed them to use, 3 mountain bikes, about 60 DVDs, and I'm still finding more and more stuff missing. But that was the lump sum of the most expensive items that were missing once they vacated.
Are you missing any documents?
I don't know yet.
Objection. I still don't see the relevance of this that happened after this May 22nd date.
Mr. Manis, relevance, please.
The relevance is that there's been testimony that this couple have caused Ms. Blaisdell a lot of problems. And Ms. Willenbring had asked her, as if it was relevant, about how many times or whether she called the police on this incident or that incident. So I think it's relevant that she did call, as she testified, she had to call the police again regarding this incident. Even though it's after the date, it's still part of the global relationship. And I think also there was testimony that the argument that day was much more about just a couple $100 that was missing.
For the record, I do not find the testimony of what happened after this event to be relevant. We'll hear about whether or not there was an assault and battery by Ms. Blaisdell on that particular date.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I have no other questions.
Thank you. Any, well, that was the end of that.
And I have no other witnesses, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Willenbring, do you have any rebuttal witnesses?
No rebuttal witnesses, Your Honor.
Are we ready for closing arguments?
Yes, Your Honor. May I just have a moment?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
All right, you may proceed.
Thank you. Your Honor, Mr. Smith testified to waking up from a nap at the house that he was living at and walking into the living room where he found Ms. Blaisdell. He testified that he saw her drinking alcohol and that she was being loud and obnoxious, and that from his experience, he believed that she had been drinking and that she was acting in a way consistent with someone who had been drinking a lot. Mr. Smith stated that she started talking about how she had been kicked out of a party across the street. She was upset, she was getting loud, and the two got into some kind of argument. Mr. Smith testified that he was trying to defuse the situation, stated that he was going to call the police because he didn't think that he could manage. And when he turned around, he testified that Ms. Blaisdell hit him in the back. And Mr. Smith then exited the residence. I think it's undisputed that Ms. Blaisdell had been drinking that day, and that things might not be as clear to her as they were to Mr. Smith. But Mr. Smith did testify that he felt a hit on his back and then went to the backyard to defuse the situation. Given that testimony from Mr. Smith, I ask you to find Ms. Blaisdell guilty of assault and battery. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Banis.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Blaisdell testified and that she was honest with the police. Her testimony today is consistent with that. She told the deputy that same day that he was in her face screaming. There was an argument about the living arrangements, and that she pushed him. She testified how she felt about that, and she had examples of why she was feeling emotions of feeling threatened and scared. So I don't believe a push in that circumstance meets the elements of an assault or assault and battery. But of course, even if you feel it does, I believe we've established that there is self-defense going here. And once there's evidence of self-defense, the state, of course, has the burden beyond a reasonable doubt of proving it wasn't self-defense. So that leads to the question, perhaps, of do you believe that Mr. Smith, that she hit him in the back, a muscular man, many inches taller than her, but muscular man, hit by a 5'2" woman in the back with her hand, is, I believe, his testimony, that it felt like a jar. I'm sorry, Your Honor, I don't find that credible. So there's that. And I don't believe they've proven beyond a reasonable doubt that each and every element of this alleged assault and battery. As I said, she testified what happened, and she explained to you, she told the same thing to the police. Now, I think it's clear from the testimony that there was, and again, this goes to self-defense and how she was feeling that day and how he was probably feeling that day, is that there were a lot of problems here. This was a temporary living arrangement. It wasn't working out. She testified, I believe, that Mr. Smith and his girlfriend were arguing, fighting. There was the issue with the window had to be closed. The neighbors were complaining. There's an issue of marijuana, but I think that line of questioning, I just moved on beyond that. And all of that goes to how she was feeling that day while he was, as she testified, screaming in his face. And she also explained why she, incidents where he has a bad temper and she had to call the police several times. So, Your Honor, I hope you will find her not guilty of this crime. I don't believe the state has shown beyond a reasonable doubt each and every element. And I also believe that we've established that this push, which she has not shied away from at any point, was done in self-defense. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Ms. Willenbring?
Nothing further from the people, Your Honor.
Thank you. The court has listened to the testimony of Mr. Cornelius Smith as well as Ms. Tiffany Blaisdell. In listening to the testimony, a part of what the court has to determine is credibility and who the court is going to believe in any given circumstance and situation. A part of what this court oftentimes looks for is the details of an event in order to determine who is being truthful about it and who is not being truthful about that particular incident. In this case, Ms. Blaisdell indicates that she pushed Mr. Smith in self-defense, and the self-defense has been asserted, so the court has to address it. The truth of the matter is, I don't believe that it happened in that way, shape, or form, in any way, shape, or form. I find that her testimony as to what happened today was fuzzy at best, and that at every point in time and opportunity possible, she tried to talk about events from a different date. And I'm not denying that those different dates of incidences did or did not occur, but that is not the issue that is before the court. What's before the court is what happened on that particular date. The court found Mr. Smith, whether he has a habit of smoking marijuana, has a habit of getting into fights with other people, or even has a temper issue, which he apparently has a small one, as it showed based on his testimony here today. But his testimony was credible about what happened on that particular day. I found him to be truthful about the fact that he was in the bedroom, came out, she was drinking on that date, and they got into a dispute about the living situation. What words were exchanged as a part of that living situation, this court is unclear. However, I do believe at some point in time, he decided that he was going to try to remove himself from that situation. He went into the kitchen and made a telephone call to the police and was talking to them when he was hit, whether it was with her hand or with what it felt like a bottle to him. I disagree with Mr. Banas that someone of that size who may be surprised by the fact that they're being hit in the back at the time may feel like there's a bottle that's hitting them, whether it's their actual hand or an object. The bottom line is she did hit him without his permission, and that the prosecution has met their burden of proof with respect to this particular case. I find her guilty. So sentencing in this matter will be on August 30th, 2021 at 10 a.m. We need to address bond.
Your Honor, I'm asking that you continue bond. I do have a copy of the bond violation report. I understand there are missed tests and you know, it's not improper for a court to think, well, if there's a missed test, maybe it was positive. I'll just point out that on June 8th, she tested negative. She did explain to me she missed some tests because she didn't have the finances to pay. You still have to test, or at least make every effort to make sure community corrections understands what's going on. She then did test on July 15th and was negative, and on the next day, her color or her number came up again, and I understand she did communicate with community corrections and explain what was going on. So I would ask that you continue bond or that you allow her to remain out of custody on a personal bond. And of course, if you order her to test immediately, I'm sure she will.
Ms. Willenbring?
Your Honor, as to bond, I do have concerns about substance abuse concerns about Ms. Blaisdell. And while I do know that testing is a monetary cost, and I would ask that Ms. Blaisdell be required to test within the next 24 hours and be required to test regularly, given that she has not been doing so. I would also like to ask for continued no contact with Mr. Cornelius Smith or Ms. Tiffany Moore. I don't think that will be a problem, given that they no longer live in the same residence.
This court is concerned about the bond in this situation. This is the second violation that I have received from Ms. Blaisdell. The first one was from the very beginning. We got a violation report on May 26th of 2021, at which time Ms. Blaisdell had been ordered to report to community corrections and test within 24 hours and to test regularly. She did not test at that point in time and did not even report for intake. Messages were left at the number that she had given on 2 separate occasions, and she still did not respond. It wasn't until she appeared before this court on June 7th that I issued a bench warrant for her for violating her bond. And so that happened on May 27th, and we didn't hear from her until she appeared on June 7th. At that point in time, I had a very stern conversation with Ms. Blaisdell and explained to her that I wanted her to test on a regular basis. And at that time, I also told her that I wanted her to test within 24 hours. That she did do. She tested on the 8th because she was here on the 7th, but then she did not show up again. And I'm not sure what happened, but apparently there were no tests between June 8th and June 28th. And maybe that's because I only ordered twice a month, and that was her second test, and she didn't show up. I gave her due consideration for her actual financial issues at that time by making it 2 times per month. Yet she did not show up. They gave her another opportunity on the 29th. She did not show up. They gave her another opportunity on the 1st. She did not show up. And then on the 15th, she decided she would come in. At that point, she tested negative, but then on the 16th, she didn't show up. So it appears to me that she has no regard for this court's orders.
Ms. Washington, may I speak?
Yes, ma'am, if your attorney approves.
If you want to address the missed test.
Talk to her?
No, Your Honor, I did speak with her about it. She explained to me it was a financial issue, and that's not an excuse, but if she's going to comment on that, then I think it's always helpful for court to hear, or usually helpful to directly from a client. So Ms. Blaisdell, if you want to address that issue, I have no problem with that.
Thank you. I've received disability, and I'm paid once a month, which is on the 3rd. These dates they were coming in, all the month of June, all my money was gone because I was living in hotel rooms because I was on a no contact order with Mr. Smith and Mrs. Moore. The money was all gone. There's nothing I could do. The month of July, the same problem occurred. I came in my home, but I had to buy a new TV. Everything's been stolen. I had to replace the locks on the doors. Money went, and I advised Mrs. Kirk at Community Corrections that I was going to address this with the court on Tuesday to let them know. But when Ms. Kerr did hit me up on, I believe, the 14th of July, she said, get in here tomorrow or I'm going to issue a bench warrant. So I did. And I borrowed money and I got in there and took care of it. Again, I don't do drugs. That's not an issue. No substance issues like that. But again, I won't see any money until the 3rd. I have $18 in my account until that date.
What type of tests are you doing over there, ma'am?
Under the tongue test, everything. Alcohol, drugs. It's the swab, what I requested before.
Actually, I don't think they're doing an ETG. I don't see an ETG done in here. Ms. Blaisdell, please explain to me why you're saying you don't have money to do your ETG test.
There was no ETG test. It's all under the tongue, the swab.
All right, so why don't you have money to do the test?
For my SSD, when I had money, and I borrowed money the last time for the 15th. It's not a large amount of disability that I receive.
How much are you receiving now?
A month. I was spending $350 up to $400 a week in hotel rooms because they were still residing in my home and I couldn't go there. I struggle. And the rent here is $1,200 in addition to utilities. And now I'm also paying my own insurance and everything because that's part of a new state law, I believe, with disability.
Ma'am, I just heard you tell me that you put a TV ahead of your...
That was prior to the test.
Freedom.
When I first came back in my house on July 1st.
I'm sorry, what now?
July 1st, when I came in, on the 3rd, I went and got a TV. I had no choice.
What do you mean you had no choice?
I didn't have anything here. I'm pretty much a shut-in. I'm agoraphobic. I don't leave the house. So I have to have something. That's one of my issues. It's a medical condition.
All right, ma'am. This is what I'm ordering. You are to appear to have an ETG test within 24 hours. You can figure that out. If you don't have that ETG test within 24 hours, I'm going to issue a bench warrant for your arrest.
Oh, sorry. Okay. And what is the ETG? Is that a urine test?
I'm not sure what they do. They will decide that when they get there.
Okay, because I can't urinate in front of people. That's why I asked for the swabs initially. It's a little more expensive, but that's why.
Yeah, but that's not an ETG. I need to have an ETG test done. Okay. So that I can figure out whether or not you're drinking alcohol.
Okay, fair enough.
And I'm continuing ETGs 2 times per month.
Okay.
If you're not there within 24 hours, we just had this conversation on June 7th, ma'am. This is my last time giving you an opportunity to not issue a warrant for you, okay?
Okay, understood. Do we know the cost of the ETG?
I don't.
Okay, me neither. I need to borrow money, so I just...
Then you can call over there. Your attorney can help you with that.
Okay.
All right. They'll answer tomorrow because they're closed for today. So.
Okay, right. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Also, Ms. Blaisdell, I'll reach out to Community Corrections. You can do that too if you have their number. Well, you must have their number because you've tested there. I believe the ETG is typically a urine test. They can also, I don't know if Community Corrections can. There's other ways that I think, but in any event, I'll reach out and try to figure that out for you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
All right, August 30th, 2021 at 10 a.m. for sentencing.
Your Honor, is there a pre-sentencing interview of any sort?
Thank you for reminding me. I didn't say that out loud. Yes, she does have to have the pre-sentence investigation report done. She's having financial difficulties, or I would send her for an alcohol assessment, but they do cost money, $100 and some odd is usually what they cost. So instead, I'm gonna have my department ask her some questions regarding her usage of alcohol, and we'll go from there to see if we can get something in place for her. Okay.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. That will save her a little bit of money. Okay, Ms. Blaisdell, I will follow up with you. and make sure, see if you have any questions about going forward.
Okay, definitely. I appreciate it.
All right, we're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renner.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.